Hey there, and welcome to a deep dive you won't soon forget. Today, we've got some source material that you might not expect. It's from a podcast called Learn English with Alexa.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, so I know what you're probably thinking. We're not really focused on language learning here.
Right. What's the connection?
Well, the thing is, this episode has a financial advisor on it, and his name is John.
Huh?
And he dropped some serious knowledge about personal finance.
Oh, so we're getting a double dose of learning English skills and money tips.
Yeah, it's like sneaking in a healthy dose of financial advice while you're learning a new language or brushing up on your English skills.
I like it. It's a clever approach.
So John talks about all kinds of things, like compound interest, how your savings can multiply over time. He also mentions this thing called the 24-hour rule to help you avoid those impulse purchases that can really hurt your budget.
The 24-hour rule. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, we'll definitely get to that. But let's start with the foundation budgeting.
Budgeting. Some people find that word a bit intimidating.
Yeah, it can sound restrictive, but it's actually about gaining control.
Exactly. It's about understanding where your money is going so you can make informed choices.
Instead of just swiping your card without thinking, you're taking a step back and asking, where is my money actually going?
Right. And then you can figure out what your priorities are and align your spending with those priorities.
That makes a lot of sense. John really emphasizes setting savings goals.
He does. And that's so important. It's not just about saying, I want to save money. It's more powerful when you have a specific goal in mind.
Like a dream vacation or a down payment on a house.
Exactly. Having a clear goal makes saving more tangible and motivating.
It's like having a destination on a map. It gives you direction.
I love that analogy.
And Jane gives some really practical tips for achieving those goals.
Oh, like what?
Well, he talks about breaking down big goals into smaller milestones, which can make them feel less overwhelming.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Sometimes those big goals can seem impossible.
Yeah, and he also recommends trying things like budgeting apps or even that classic envelope system.
Oh, the envelope system. That's a classic for a reason. It's simple but effective.
Yeah, you just allocate cash for different categories and put it in labeled envelopes, and when an envelope's empty, you've hit your limit.
It's such a visual and tangible way to track spending.
Right, you're literally seeing the money disappear.
Exactly.
I've heard of people using it for groceries or entertainment expenses, things like that.
It's a great way to stay within your limits for those categories.
Oh, okay. So another key theme from John is the power of automation. He's all about setting up those automatic transfers to your savings account.
Automation. It's a
Yeah.
game changer. It takes the willpower out of the equation.
Right. You're basically paying yourself first before you even have a chance to spend the money.
Exactly. And it plays on this behavioral economics principle called pre-commitment.
Pre-commitment. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's where you make a decision in advance to avoid future temptation.
So you're setting yourself up for success by removing that temptation.
Exactly. It's a brilliant strategy for building savings effortlessly.
I love it. Effortless saving. Who wouldn't want that?
Now, since we're on the topic of resisting temptation, let's talk about John's advice on those impulse purchases.
Oh, yeah. He mentions this 24-hour rule, right?
He does.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a simple yet effective way to combat those spur-of-the-moment spending urges that we all experience.
It's so true. Sometimes I find myself about to buy something online and I think, wait a minute, 24-hour rule?
Right. Give yourself that pause.
And you know what? More often than not, the next day, I realize I didn't really need it after all.
That's exactly how it works. You're interrupting that impulsive cycle.
You're letting your rational mind catch up with your emotions.
That's a great way to put it.
And you know what else I thought of? It ties into what John says about distinguishing between needs and wants.
Oh, absolutely.
It's so easy to fall into that trap of, I want this now. But that 24-hour rule forces you to stop and think, do I truly need this?
It's such an important distinction to make.
Especially in a world where we're bombarded with messages to buy, buy, buy.
We need to develop that skill of filtering out those external influences and connecting with our genuine selves.
That's really powerful. And John's tips on mindful shopping resonate with that idea too.
Oh, tell me about those.
Well, he talks about researching prices, comparing alternatives, asking yourself key questions before making a purchase.
Those are such good strategies to make sure you're getting the best value for your money.
Yeah, you're not just grabbing the first thing you see.
And sometimes, the best value means waiting for a sale or even considering buying something used.
Oh, that's true. We often get caught up in wanting the newest, shiniest thing.
But sometimes a more sustainable and budget-friendly option is to explore pre-owned items.
And you can find amazing deals. There are so many online marketplaces and consignment stores these days.
I love a good thrifting adventure. You never know what treasures you might uncover.
Absolutely. And speaking of deals, John also wants us to be strategic with discounts and sales.
Oh, yeah, those can be game changers.
He mentions cashback apps and browser extensions like Honey or Rakuten.
I've definitely dabbled in those. They can be so helpful.
Have you found them useful?
Oh, yeah. Especially if you shop online a lot. Honey automatically searches for coupon codes at checkout so you don't have to do anything.
That sounds amazing.
And cashback apps like Rakuten give you a percentage of your purchase back, which can add up over time.
So it's like getting rewarded for shopping.
Exactly. And many of those apps and extensions also have price tracking features so you can see if an item's gone on sale recently or might go on sale soon.
That's so helpful. It takes the guesswork out of finding the best deals.
It really does.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. John also talks about being mindful of our utility bills.
Oh, those pesky bills.
Mm-hmm.
But he's right. It's something we all have to deal with.
Yeah, and he points out that even small changes in our daily habits can make a big difference in our spending over time.
Absolutely. Little things like turning off lights when you leave a room or unplugging devices that aren't in use.
And taking shorter showers.
That all adds up.
It's amazing how much energy and water we can waste without realizing it.
And it's not just about the money. It's about the environmental impact, too.
That's true. Being more conscious of our energy and water usage helps create a more sustainable planet.
It's a win-win.
So, John really connects those everyday actions to the bigger picture of long-term savings and well-being.
He does. And that brings us to one of the most powerful concepts he discusses, compound interest.
Compound interest. That's the one he calls the eighth wonder of the world, right?
Yes, and for good reason. It can seem a bit abstract at first, but it's crucial to understand if you want to build long-term wealth.
It's basically interest earned on interest.
Exactly. So when you invest your money, you earn interest,
Mm-hmm.
but then that interest gets reinvested and you start earning interest on that interest and so on.
It's like a snowball effect, right?
Precisely. And it can lead to significant growth over time, especially if you start investing early.
I think a lot of people, especially younger folks, might feel intimidated by the idea of investing.
I can see why.
They might think, I don't have enough money, or I don't know anything about the stock market. But John says you don't need to be an expert or have a ton of money to get started.
He's right. Even small, consistent contributions can make a big difference over time.
The key is to start early and develop that habit of regular investing.
And luckily, there are so many resources available these days to help people get started, even with limited knowledge or funds.
Like robo-advisors.
Yes, they can create personalized investment portfolios based on your risk tolerance and goals. There are also micro-investing apps that let you invest your spare change.
It's amazing how accessible investing has become.
I think it's really empowering, especially for younger generations who might feel like they don't have the resources or expertise to build wealth.
It's all about demystifying investing and making it accessible to everyone.
Exactly. And that's what we're aiming to do here as well. Break down these complex financial concepts and empower you to take control of your financial future.
So we've covered a lot of ground today: budgeting, goal setting, automation, compound interest.
It's a great foundation.
And there's still so much more to explore.
We're just getting started. In part two of this deep dive, we'll go deeper into John's advice on specific strategies for saving money, from negotiating bills to finding hidden discounts, even exploring those alternative investment options we touched on earlier.
Sounds like a plan. Can't wait to continue this journey to saving savvy.
Me neither.
Welcome back to our deep dive. It's amazing how many gems we've unearthed already from that Learn English with Alexa
Oh,
episode.
who would have thought an English lesson could be so insightful for our wallets?
And John's advice is just so practical. I think one of the things that really stood out to me was his emphasis on negotiating bills.
Oh yeah, negotiating bills.
Hmm.
It's not something everyone's comfortable with, but John makes a strong case for why it's worth it.
Yeah, he really encourages us to become like savvy negotiators in our everyday lives.
Exactly. And, it's often more effective than people think.
So, do you have any tips on how to approach these negotiations effectively?
Well, first of all, be prepared. Like, do your research.
Right, so you know what you're talking about.
Exactly. Research competing offers, and then be ready to present your case in a clear and polite way.
Okay, so assertive but not aggressive.
Exactly. And don't forget to highlight your loyalty as a longtime customer. You're aiming for a win-win situation, you know?
I like that. A win-win for sure. And it's not just about lowering your monthly bills. John also talks about finding those hidden discounts and savings opportunities that we might be missing out on,
Oh, yes. Those hidden gems.
like student discounts or senior discounts or employee discounts.
Even discounts for members of organizations like AAA or AARP.
It's like a treasure hunt for savings.
It is. And sometimes those treasures are hiding in plain sight.
And John even suggests exploring alternative shopping options like thrift stores or consignment shops or online marketplaces.
He does. And I think that's such a valuable point. We've become so used to buying everything new that we forget about the incredible value that can be found in the secondhand market.
That's true. Not only can you save money, but you're also being more sustainable.
And it can be a lot of fun. There's a thrill to finding those unique pieces.
I love that. Okay, so speaking of alternative approaches, John also touches on the topic of alternative investments.
He does. And I think that's important to acknowledge because traditional investments like stocks and bonds aren't for everyone.
Right, and he encourages people to explore options that align with their values and their risk tolerance.
Exactly.
He mentions things like real estate or precious metals or even collectibles.
Yeah, he covers a wide range.
Yeah,
And while those alternative investments can be more complex and volatile, they can offer diversification and potentially higher returns.
but it's important to do your research first, right?
Absolutely. Understand the risks before diving in.
So it's all about expanding our horizons and considering different paths to financial well-being.
I like that, different paths,
Yeah.
because it's not a one-size-fits-all journey.
And as we're talking about all these strategies and tips, I keep coming back to this idea that saving money isn't about depriving yourself.
Oh, that's so important.
It's more about making choices that align with your values and priorities.
Right, you're in control.
It's about creating a life that's both financially secure and personally fulfilling,
Well said. And sometimes that involves making trade-offs.
like choosing to cook at home more often instead of eating out all the time.
Or opting for a staycation instead of that extravagant vacation.
It's all about finding a balance that works for you and brings you joy.
Exactly. And that's what makes personal finance so interesting. It's intertwined with our values, our goals, our aspirations.
So, as we head into the final part of our deep dive, what are some key takeaways you want our listeners to ponder? What are those nuggets of wisdom they can hold on to? Wow, it's amazing to think we got all this from that Learn English with Alexa episode.
I know, right? John really packed in a lot of great advice.
He did. It's given us a whole new perspective on managing money.
Yeah, for sure. Everything from automation to compound interest, those are game changers.
Oh, and don't forget negotiating bills. I'm putting that on my to-do list.
Uh-huh, me too. But as we wrap things up, what's the one message you really hope sticks with our listeners?
That's a good question. I think for me, it's the idea that saving isn't about deprivation.
Right. It's not about punishing yourself.
Yeah, it's more about empowerment. Like you're making choices that align with your values and goals.
Exactly. And those small changes, like John said, they can make a huge difference over time.
Even if it's just a little bit each month, that consistency really adds up.
It's like building a muscle, you know? The more you do it, the stronger you get.
And I love how John emphasized that it's never too late to start.
Oh, absolutely. It's never too late to get on track.
Whether you're just starting out or looking to improve your strategies, there's always something to learn.
It's a lifelong journey, really.
And, as we've been talking, I keep thinking about something you mentioned earlier, mindset.
Oh, yeah. Mindset is so important.
Because saving money, it's not just about numbers and spreadsheets.
It's about our beliefs and attitudes towards money, too.
Yeah. So you're saying our thoughts can actually impact our financial outcomes.
I think so, yeah. If we believe saving is hard or that we're not good with money, those thoughts can hold us back.
But if we cultivate a more positive mindset, believe that we can manage our finances well, that can make a big difference.
It's like giving yourself permission to succeed.
It's about developing a healthy relationship with money.
Exactly. And that journey is unique to each person.
That's a great point. There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
And, as you continue on your financial journey, remember that you're not alone.
There are so many resources and communities out there to support you.
And you never know, you might just stumble upon your next financial aha moment in the most unexpected place.
Just like we did with that English lesson. Well, on that note, we'll say goodbye for now.
It's been a pleasure diving into this with you.
And to all our listeners out there, happy saving.